Welcome back to Interactive Horror Stories. We're starting on Crystal Skull today, and I kind of decided I'm probably just going to do this as like a extra series, so I'm going to do double uploads with this one. And yeah, because I figured people probably don't like this content as much or will watch it because it's a lot of reading. So, yeah, that's about it. Let's get it started. You are a king who is loved by his people. You have a serious problem, though. Your only child, Juliana, has an incurable disease and she is dying. You hear about a crystal skull which can cure illnesses and let people have visions. It is brought to your place from the continent of America, but your man warns you that the skull might be cursed. Will the crystal skull bring health to the princess, or doom? Let's find out. Crystal Skull. Being a king is hard. Being a good king is even harder. You know this well as the sole ruler of a European kingdom in the age when America is discovered. It has been 25 years since you ascended the throne. Your subjects are content with your rule, your country is in peace, and the people are wealthy. There's something wrong with your life. Your daughter, Juliana, is ill. She's only 18 years old and she's got an illness that nobody could cure yet. Princess is dying and she is your only child and heir to the throne. Every doctor you could find tried to cure her. You've tried almost everything. Almost. You have been informed about a miraculous artifact unearthed in the continent of America. It is a human skull made of crystal. It amazes the scholars because no method is known to carve up such an excellent shape of a skull out of crystal. This skull doesn't belong to the world that you know, but to an ancient civilization that has been lost. Maybe this has been taken from Indiana Jones. I don't know. But what amazes the scholars is not just the impossible creation. The skull is told to bring miracles to whom touches it with their bare hands. Some people tell that they saw visions from the future. Some tell that they saw how the human race has originated. And some tell that the skull can cure their illnesses. Those couldn't be cured with the medication available to your era. Naturally, you ordered your best men to bring the miraculous skull to the palace. I feel like it wouldn't be that easy if this is like some amazing, all-powerful skull, but who knows? We could probably, maybe it's just really easy to steal in this time. It's midnight now. You're in Juliana's chamber. She's lying in her bed, holding your hand as you sit by her bed. No candles are lit inside. Full moon enlightens the princess's chamber, shining on her long blonde hair and blue eyes. She is too weak. Her skin is pale. She has under-eye bags showing her illness. You already suffered the loss of your wife 10 years ago. Now, you can't stand seeing your only daughter slowly die. Juliana asks you with a soft voice, "Father, am I going to die?" Eventually, yeah. You're going to die, either from this or old age, who knows. I won't allow that. She smiles. "I know, Father. You're a mighty king. I know that you will do the best by your subjects and me." The door of the chamber is knocked on. The servants generally don't disturb the royal family members at night, so it must be something important. "Come in." A brunette boy, one of your servants, gets inside the chamber with politeness. He looks at you and says, "Your Majesty, the artifact has been brought." You'd been waiting for this moment for a long time. Kiss Juliana's forehead. "I will come back." After you kiss Juliana's forehead and say, "I will come back," he brings your hand to her pale lips and kiss it. Then you leave Juliana alone in her chamber. At the exit of Juliana's chamber, you see Sir William, one of the knights, those were appointed with the task of bringing the ancient skull. He is a strong man with black hair and a round beard. He wears gloves and holds a bag. "Your Majesty," he says and kneels before you. Signal him to stand up. "Let's go to my study chamber." Sir William follows you as you walk to your study chamber. The chamber is well lit, with silver candelabras. All the furniture are classy. It is a king's study room, after all. There is only one chair. It is for you. You sit on it. Sir William stands by you and slowly pulls the artifact from his bag. You push the books on the study desk to open space for the artifact. "Here it is," he says, and gently pulls the crystal skull on the study desk. The skull is truly a masterpiece, if it is crafted by humans. All the details of a human skull are imprinted with care on raw crystal. Lights coming from the candles are refracted inside the crystal, gaining various colors of a rainbow. It's magnificent, but you sense something sinister, something that doesn't belong to our world. "Let's not touch the skull, how about that? Did you, knights, touch the skull?" "Yes, we did touch the skull with our bare hands, and we all had visions. We took glances from our futures. Some of us saw how they will die. Some of us saw our grandchildren." He continues, "Maybe we shouldn't have touched the skull. The day we were about to leave, a native man came to us. He looked like the chief of his tribe. He knew little of our language, but he shouted some words that we could understand. 'Cursed! No touch!' So we haven't touched the skull with our bare hands again. I know that our princess needs to find a cure. I also know that we received reliable information about the magical powers of this skull when it comes to incurable diseases. But your Majesty, I've got a very bad feeling about this skull. I believe that the wise decision is to throw this skull to the sea. I can't let Juliana die. She will touch the skull. Fuck it. The knight sighs. As you wish, your majesty. But if you were going to bring the skull to her, I wish you would wear gloves. Yeah, let's do that. You look for gloves around the study chamber. Sir William pulls his own gloves off. I think you wish Juliana to touch the skull as soon as possible. Let's not wait for servants to find your gloves, he says, and gives you them. You wear the gloves and hold the crystal skull with your covered hands. Let me bring the skull to Juliana. You thank Sir William for his services and let him go. You carry the skull to Juliana's chambers. You enter her chamber and see that she hasn't slept yet. She rises up and sits on her bed. She looks at the skull in awe. It looks marvelous. Scary, she says. You approach Juliana and let her touch the skull. As Juliana touches the skull, she closes her eyes and doesn't react to anything in the external world. You understand that she is having a vision. After 10 seconds, she opens her eyes with a gasp. I saw things. I don't know how to describe them. They were pitch black creatures, so ugly. Their eyes, they were red as flames, and they all stared at me. She starts to cry. Please keep this thing away from me, please, and I want to be alone. So you decide to keep the skull in your study room and let your daughter sleep. After this tiring day, you go to your chamber. There are no guards at the door. You just trust everybody in the palace. You are a loved king. The furniture are luxurious in this chamber, too. You take a glance at your reflection in the mirror. Examine yourself. You take pride in how you look. You're a middle-aged man, but still look as handsome as you were young. Your looks are an important factor that makes you a charismatic leader, besides being fair and wise. Let's sleep. You wear your nightgown and get in your bed. It is a bed for 2 people, but you haven't slept with anyone since your wife passed. You have a secret that you keep from everyone. Sometimes you hug the second pillow in your bed, as if it was someone you love. You do this since your childhood. Nobody needs to know it. It doesn't take long for you to fall asleep. Father. You wake up to Juliana's voice. She gently holds your shoulder. You look at her. She has a happy smile on her face. Her skin is not pale, but saturated with life. She no longer has bags under her eyes. I feel wonderful. She takes a few steps back and starts dancing. You laugh with happiness, stand up, and hug her. Juliana walks the corridors of the palace, dancing and laughing. You and the people of the palace are very happy to see her this way. She used to be like a ghost before. You plan a feast and invite all the lords of the kingdom. A few days later, every lord arrives to the capital city to celebrate the health of the princess. At the feast, Juliana is the center of everybody's attention. She talks with everyone joyfully, makes jokes, makes people laugh. When the feast is over and it's midnight, everybody goes to the chambers reserved for them. You accompany Juliana to her chamber. You put a kiss on her forehead before letting her sleep. Then you go to your own chamber and fall asleep in peace. You wake up to the sound of the knocking on your chamber's door. It's still night. You wondered who dared to wake you up at this hour. Let's open it up. The same brunette boy who had informed you about the arrival of the skull. Your Majesty, I'm deeply sorry for disturbing you at this hour, but there's something wrong. There are laughing sounds coming from the princess's chamber. It's your voice, but it doesn't sound normal. Uh-oh. Let me check it. You walk to Juliana's chamber like the servant said. Hysterical laughters come from inside. You decide to enter. You see Juliana at the balcony of her chamber, facing back you. She laughs under the pale moon. You approach her and put your hand on her shoulder. She turns back to you. Her face is normal, smiling. Just when you're going to ask if she's okay, she responds, I know it looks funny, Father, but I'm fine. Please leave me alone, she says. She stops laughing, gets her in her bed with a smile on her face. You decide to leave her alone. You go back to your chamber. You can't sleep. You feel something is wrong. So wrong. The door of your chamber opens. There's only one person who is allowed to enter without knocking on the king's door, so you understand that it's Juliana who entered. Like you guessed, you see your daughter's silhouette. She closes the door and approaches you with a smile on her face. Juliana? She leans down to you, gently pulls the other pillow that you don't use. Juliana is dead, she says, pushing the pillow on your face. You struggle, but whoever or whatever is trying to kill you is too strong. The king is dead. Long live the king, she shouts. Why is your own daughter committing patricide/regicide and referring to herself as the king rather than queen? That doesn't make sense at all. It's the end of your reign and life. The end. There are 3 endings in this one. Okay. Well, that was a weird one. Kind of little not much going on. This one, maybe we'll try and get a couple other endings. Why not? Am I going to die? Eventually, yes. She sighs. It is so sad. I'm a princess with ambitions to become a ruler, and it is certainly not about personal gain. I want to continue what you do. I want to be a fair ruler and make our people happy, she continues, but I think this is life. Death conquers all. Let's touch it. Why not? You're about to touch the skull. Sir William holds your hands and prevents you from touching the skull. Your Majesty, I think I need to tell you something about the skull before you touch it. The chief says no touch. Let's touch it. Why not? Or actually, I guess we're not. Let's throw this skull to the sea. I am glad that you agree with me, your majesty. So he packs the crystal skull and back into the bag. You two get outside the palace and get on your horses to ride to the docks. When you reach the docks, Sir William finds stones and fills the bag with it. Then he throws the bag. Your only hope for killing Juliana to the bottom of the dark sea. I know how hard it must be, but maybe this is best for all of us. You hope that he's right. The end. I guess Juliana just dies then. And we'll go for the last one as well, because why not? So I think this time we're going to make her touch the skull, and we're going to see if we can touch it with bare hands here. You ignore the knight, touch the skull with bare hands, and instantly find yourself in a vision. Ooh, this is different. In your vision, you're in the middle of a ritual. There are about 100 naked humans around you, forming a circle whose center is you. They're all prostrating themselves, worshipping you. It's nighttime. The plain area is enlightened with torches and stars. You see a stepped pyramid nearby. It is made of huge stone blocks. You realize that you are the crystal skull. You can't see yourself, but you are completely aware you are. These naked people are worshipping you, the crystal skull. Then the vision changes. Now it's not night, but morning. It's raining like hell. There's a huge flood. Unclothed red-skinned humans scream and get drowned because of the disastrous torrent, and you, as the skull, drift away. You open your eyes and turn back to who you really are. Good King Sir William looks at you. Let's tell him the vision. You tell him what you have seen in your vision. Yes, the skull is mysterious. I can't understand it. I hope it doesn't bring harm to you or Princess, your majesty, he says. Let me bring the skull to Juliana. What if we examine ourselves now? Take pride in how you look. Okay, I thought something might be different since we actually touched the skull. I accidentally skipped through that. Let's go and... I accidentally skipped through, like, the different part, so let me go back to that quickly. Alright, she holds the skull, rubs her hands around it. Nothing happens. Is something supposed to happen, she asks, and gives the skull back. Then she continues, let's wait for tomorrow morning. Maybe it shows its effects then. So you decide to leave Juliana alone and let her sleep. The skull will be staying in your study chamber. After this tiring day, you go to your chamber. There are no guards at the door, you just trust everyone in the palace. You are a loved king. The furniture are luxurious in this chamber too. You take a glance at your reflection in the mirror. Let's just go to sleep. This is the same. You wake up in the morning. Something is wrong. You can't move your arms. No, not only your arms, you can't move any part of your body. You're paralyzed. Then suddenly, your body starts to move involuntarily. It stands up without your consent. Your feet bring you to the mirror. You see your face in the mirror. You are terrified, but there is a grin on your face. You are no longer in control of your body. You're merely a bystander of what it does. It brings you to the throne room with confident steps. Soldiers salute you, to be exact, it, as you enter. It sits on the throne and shouts with your voice, bring me my daughter. You watch guards accompany Juliana as she comes into your presence. It shouts, I don't want her to suffer anymore. Kill her. Juliana is shocked. What? Father, please. She's not the only surprised one in the room. Everybody looks at each other with shock. It shouts, you heard your king. Execute her. You try to shout, but your screams are buried inside the head of the king. Juliana gets on her knees and cries in despair, but it's vain. Two black masked decapitators come in your presence. One holds the crying blonde girl. The other holds the sword. You can do nothing but watch as your precious daughter gets decapitated. Her head falls down and rolls to the throne. Floor gets filled with her blood. Days pass. It continues to control your body. You mourn for your daughter inside the body that once belonged to you. You watch it rule your country with an iron fist. It orders all the churches to be burnt and priests to be hung. Of course, your people uprise against the new king. It suppresses the revolt with violence. Anyone who stood against the king gets tortured. Eyes are poked, skins are flayed. Soon, it orders people to worship it as a deity. The God King declares war against other countries. It doesn't take long for the other countries to form an alliance against the God King. In a fateful battle in your capital, the God King loses his horse. The evil king gets killed while desperately searching for a horse. And this is how your soul finally breaks free to heaven to see your family once again. I mean, it surprisingly actually had I guess not a good ending, but a relatively happy-ish one in a way. Like they could have just been like, oh, you went to hell or something, but we went to heaven to see our family, so that's nice. Evil beneath the ground. You're a goth university student with no friends. You join a school trip to a lake and the forest near it. If you decide to wander in the forest at night, you will find bare footprints. Those are coming from a black hole with a ladder. Will you descend down? So, kind of like a play on, what the fuck is that show or movie, sorry? With the rabbit hole and, you know, we go down and like, oh my god, how can I not think of this? Alice in Wonderland, holy shit. Let's get it started. Evil beneath the ground. You are a young university student who identifies as a goth. You are a lonely person. People think that you want to be alone, but in fact, you couldn't find someone you felt affinity. Everyone is so distant from you. Nobody you know listens to the music that you love, like Bauhaus, This Mortal Coil, The Sisters of Mercy, etc. You heard about a university field trip to a lake and the forest around it in autumn. There would be a picnic. Also, alcohol is permitted. You could bring your own drinks. You joined the field trip, not only maybe you could make new friends, but you also loved the nature, especially when it's the cold season. But of course, you couldn't make new friends once again. During the 2 hours of the bus travel, you found out that every other student who joined the trip were already friends. Simply ignored you. You also didn't approach them. As a result, all you could do during the bus trip was looking outside the window or play games on your phone while you listened to their joyful laughters. You have mixed feelings about this picnic by the lake. You can't feel yourself as a part of the joyful youth who are enjoying the nature trip. After having a picnic barbecue, they played a game with a ball in which they formed a circle and tried not to let the ball touch the ground. Everyone participated in the game, except for you. But you enjoy the nature trip somehow. As said before, you love the nature. Took pictures of the lake with your phone. You don't plan to post the pictures anywhere, though. There's a huge forest near the picnic area. You have always found peace in the green of the forests. After the sun set, people began to light a campfire and drink. People around your age generally prefer beer, but you don't like it. You feel it overfills your stomach and causes nausea after 2 cans. Instead, you prefer stronger drinks. Today, you brought a bottle of red wine and a wine glass. They gathered around the campfire while you drank your wine alone, away from them. Handsome guy brought his guitar from the bus and began playing it around the fire, while you finished your second glass of wine. Campfire and moon illuminate the darkness. Sun has already set. There are about 5 hours for the picnic to end. You'll be going back to the city with the buses. He is playing a calming song. You might join the group, but you also feel a strong urge to have a walk in the dark forest. Let's just go to the forest. You stand up and wander away from the picnic. You feel the call of the dark forest, so you walk along the path into it. The trees are high and still green. Maybe they stay green in all seasons. You don't know. Your field is not biology. The soil is wet and muddy. It must have rained before your group arrived at the lake. You leave boot prints on the soil as you walk. There are no clouds in the sky. Full moon and stars illuminate the forest, but that's not enough for your eyes. You turn on the flashlight of your phone. There's an app for it, too. You can't clearly see, but notice rabbits in the distance. Naturally, they run from you as they notice your presence. You begin to think that you might have gone too far away from the picnic, but there's nothing interesting in the picnic area. You somehow feel like the darkness of the forest is your friend. Only friend. Let's continue. You continue on the forest path. After a few minutes, you notice footprints on the soil. They seem to belong to a human with bare, big feet. Probably a man. Prints cross the path. Let's follow him. You follow the footprints of the soil. They keep changing directions. You find yourself at an elevation and the prints stop here. Whoever was walking didn't leave prints, those you would follow anymore. He might have gone anywhere, as he didn't follow a single direction. Guess let's follow his route back then. You decide to go to the place where he comes from. After a long walk, you find yourself at a hole. There's a lid and a rope near it. The man clearly comes from the hole. His footprints prove it. When you hold your phone's light into the black hole, you see that there's a ladder inside the hole. You can't see the end of the hole from your position. As a curious and drunk boy, you feel a strong urge to descend. Let's do it. As you need to use both your hands to climb down, you put your phone into your jeans pocket, turning off the light. You start climbing down. After a few seconds, moon and stars above no longer illuminate what you see. You are in pitch black, and the ladder continues. Finally, your feet touch the ground. You're so distant from the forest that you can't see the entrance of the hole from where you are. You carefully get on your 2 feet. You can see nothing yet. The place where you are is made of concrete. There's a long corridor in front of you. It is narrow, about 1 meter wide. It's not very high. There are only a few centimeters between your head and the ceiling of the corridor. You smell a terrible odor. It's a mixture of feces and something you can't understand. There are 3 doorless holes along the concrete corridor, making 3 rooms to discover. Let's start with the first one. There's an empty wooden coffin. A mirror hangs on the concrete wall. A bloody razor and a black whip stand in front of the mirror. In the mirror, you see your reflection and the terror on your face. Let's examine the second room. You're in shock to find a chained woman in this room. The chain is tied to her ankle. She looks in her 40s, too weak. Her bones are noticeable and has a pale skin with lots of scars. She's on her knees. She's naked. Her body is lightly hairy, except for her pubic area. It is quite hairy. I don't know why we felt the need to specifically mention that, but for the story, I guess, you want all the details. You want to be able to envision it in your mind, what's going on. Contrasting her hairy body, her head is shaved. She stinks. Not only the smell of feces, but also it looks like she wasn't washed for years. She screams as you point the light to her. Who are you? She doesn't answer your question, but yells with despair. Help me. He keeps me here. Try to save her. You crouch down to her tied foot. There's no way you can remove the bracelet from her ankle. You also notice that her pinky toe is missing. Let me try to find the key. Try to leave the room, but something you don't understand happens. At the exit of the room, you hit something that wasn't visible in front of you. Yes, you saw nothing in front of you, yet you hit something. You fall onto the floor, and an invisible force carries you and repeatedly smashes your head into the wall. You hear the woman screaming as you black out. When you wake up, you find yourself lying on the concrete floor in pitch darkness. By the smell, you understand that you are in the same place. Whoever is keeping you captive, he has stripped you from all clothes. You are naked and cold. There is a gag on your mouth so you can't shout and communicate with the woman. She might be gagged too. Stand up and try to walk away, but your ankle is tied with a chain. You can walk only in the chamber with 1 meter of radius. Your foot touches the metal bucket, probably where he expects you to defecate. You lose all sense of time here. You wait for an unmeasurable amount of time for something to happen. You are thirsty and hungry. Sometimes you hear your phone ring. It is in a different room. The piano melody is It's the Fear by Within Temptation, an ironic name for your situation. You probably notice that you are missing and try to reach you, especially your parents. They must have become mad. Of course, you can't answer the call. Finally, you hear footsteps. You hear your captor coming to your room. You are unable to see anything. He takes your gag off. Apparently, he has no problem with seeing in the pitch black. And you hear his voice. Drink. It belongs to an old man. A dominant, ordering voice. You feel the tip of a bucket on your lips. It is water what he is offering. You drink it. Not the best water you drank. It could be taken from the lake. But you have no other choices, it seems. As you drink enough, he puts the bucket on the ground. Now he brings something else to your lips. Eat. You are too hungry to refuse him. You allow him to put the thing in your mouth. It's meat, but raw. You would never eat raw meat, except for sushi, but now you chew it slowly. It is rabbit, he says. You shallow the meat, despite how it disgusts you. After you eat all he gives you, he puts the gag on your mouth and leaves the room without saying another word. After a while, he comes back as you were laying on the floor. Stand up, he orders you. You get on your 2 feet clumsily. He grabs your body and you feel 2 sharp fangs on your neck. He starts draining your blood, and you understand the true nature of your captor. It's a vampire. You have no idea how long you've been prisoner here. You are mostly alone in the room, doing nothing with a gag on your mouth. He occasionally comes back to feed you and himself. Sometimes you hear loud sounds from the other room. He tortures the woman. She screams and begs him to stop, but he doesn't. You hear a whip hit the naked flesh of the woman, but for some reason he doesn't harm you. Only the woman. You haven't seen anything for a long time. You have no idea what he looks like. Sometimes you hear sobbing, but it doesn't belong to the woman, to the captor. He cries loudly for some reason. Some day or night you can't figure out, he shows up and takes your gag off. I've done research about you, learned everything about you. Says your name, shocking you. We have common points. We both like dark. We are both outcasts, lonely souls in this world of darkness. I'll make you an offer, only once, so make your decision wisely. I can make you an immortal like me. You will no longer be in chains. You will have a life or unlife in the dark, like you've always wanted. Or you can stay as immortal and wait for the day you will die here as my prisoner. I feel like, let's be an immortal. Very well, he says. Stand up. You stand up and allow your master to embrace you. You feel his fangs in your neck once again. But this time, he doesn't stop. You feel your whole blood is getting drained. Soon, you lose consciousness. You open your eyes. You find yourself lying in a wooden coffin, but this time you're able to see. There isn't any single light source in the concrete room, but you see your environment as if you were wearing night vision goggles. You're wearing your old clothes and also gloves so you can't see your skin. You've lost your hair. It is shed. Your old hair is on the coffin's part where you put your head on, and you feel your face change too. But the most significant change is an unbearable thirst, but not for water. Welcome to a new start, my child. You hear his voice. You look around the room, but you can't see him. There are 2 coffins and a mirror in the room. They think that our kind can't be seen on the mirror. False. Take a look at yourself. You step outside the coffin and walk to the mirror. You are in terror with what you see in the mirror. You don't carry a human face anymore. Your skin has scales like a snake. Its color is a light gray, almost white. Your ears are long and have pointy tips. Your eyes are all red. Slowly open your mouth to see your sharp teeth. You scream, break down, and cry in despair. And you feel his hand, claw to be exact, on your shoulder. He stands on your back. He stands on my back? Why? Now you're able to see his hand, just scaled like your skin. Look at me, he orders you, and for some reason you can't disobey your master. You involuntarily look in the mirror to see the immortal entity behind you. His body is tall, naked, and has a humpback. His skin is almost white and scaled, but his face, it is the ugliest thing you've ever seen. It's the very embodiment of evil, torture, murder, rape, and envy. Envy for everything that is pretty and fair. I will teach you everything I know. Your new and only now parent says with a hideous smile. Wow, well that was interesting. This one also has 3 endings, and we're going to go through them all as well, because why not? This time, we're going to join the group. You approach the group. 2 girls notice you. They open a space for you to sit between them. One of them is blonde. The other has long black hair. They wear colorful clothes, contrasting with your dark outfit. How are you? The blonde girl says, we're fine. They neither say anything else nor ask you how you are. What are your names? One with black hair says, we have boyfriends. I only asked your names, bitch. You're trying so hard, aren't you? The blonde says, and they both laugh. Fuck you. I tried to be nice. They don't like what you say, but they don't react either. They keep sipping their beers as you leave them. You can stay with the other students or go to the forest. Probably just stay this time. Nothing interesting happens the rest of the day. You finish your bottle of wine and can't make any friends as usual. When the time comes, you get on the bus and go back to the city. Yes, it's a lame ending. At least you were still alive and human. Okay, well that one was a little whatever. And let's go for the third one now. I think this time we'll go to the forest, and we're going to go to the third room. You see a chain tied to the wall. It has a bracelet at its end. There are two metal buckets. They are both empty. You notice a metal key on the floor. Oh ho ho, maybe we can save her. Take the key. Let's go to the second room now. You were shocked to find a chained woman in this room. Yeah. Let's save her. Crouch down to her tied foot. With the key you got, you unlock the bracelet. She is free. You also notice that her pinky toe is missing. Let's not ask her, because I feel like that's going to waste time. Let's just run. You hold the woman's hand and rush to the ladder. Your other hand holds your phone so that you enlighten the corridor. But as you reach the ladders, you feel something hit your stomach. You can't understand it. You saw nothing in front of you. But still, there is something. Your phone falls to the ground. You can't see anything. The woman screams, oh no, he came! You feel something grab you and smashes your head to the concrete wall. You black out, and now we're back here. Who are you? I am your new master. You better behave well. You are mine now. Now drink, or I won't give it to you once again. Eat as well. I think this time we are gonna die. I want to stay human. Suddenly you feel a sharp pain on your shoulders. You hear the loud sound of a whip. He whips you continuously, feeling zero empathy for the agony you feel on your bare skin. You could have been a predator like me. You chose to be a fuck toy. You're mine to torment. Do you understand, idiot? He shouts at you. He kicks you and leaves you sobbing on the floor. You could do nothing but hope that sweet death will come soon. But it never comes. Damn. That one was more intense. Fucking hell. So I also actually didn't go for any of the other endings in the doll or the after funeral. I'm just going to do that now as well. Feel free to close the video off here if you don't care. Or if you've even watched it this far, who knows. If you want to know what happens in these two stories, go back to the previous video of this game and you'll find out there. This time we're going to be kind to her, I think, for the most part. So we're just going to do everything that makes her feel better. So I bought you a ragdoll today and we'll continue driving. Don't go hard on yourself. Go on. We're choosing to believe her here. Lisa explains. Anna says that she's nothing but a piece of light. Yeah. I believe in you. Keep the doll. Like Lisa doesn't show her emotions usually, but this time you can see that she is surprised. Oh, thank you very much, Mom, she says. You kiss her goodnight and leave her with Anna, the doll. All right. Blood leaks from her again. I won't allow her to harm you, Lisa. You crouch and hug Lisa as she cries. I know how hard it is to believe me now, but thank you for believing me. But please, I want to stay alone. I know that she won't come back. So you let her stay alone in her room. After closing the windows and locking the door, you make sure that no doll can trespass. 3 a.m. now. It's raining outside. See Lisa's silhouette at the door. She walks in. She turns on the light and approaches you. Mom, I need to confess something. The doll was not possessed or anything. I made it up. I really need to get psychiatric help. I feel a huge urge to murder you. Please help me. You hug her. You had done parenting failures before, but it's not too late to fix them. Your mentally ill daughter. Oh, shit. So that means the first one we played through, it wasn't her, like, being possessed by it or anything. It's just, my daughter is fucking crazy. Yeah, great. The end. Wow. Okay. Well, that was interesting to find out, actually. Now, after funeral. This time, we're not going to believe the messages that we get sent. We can open the door. It doesn't really matter. I'm fine. Let's lie. Bob believes in your lie. It's good that you're doing better, fam. Fam. What the fuck? Everyone knows losing a kid is a hard process, but I'm sure you'll get over it. You're a strong man. We don't need anything. Okay, man. See you later. You say goodbye to Bob, too. Then he goes. You close the door and sit back at your work table. Something's missing. Let's turn it off. Turn off the monitor and the monitor screen goes black. Then nothing else appears on the screen. You don't find anything to write in your novel, so you don't need to turn the computer over once again. And yes, also the text disturbed you. You don't experience anything supernatural during the rest of the day. At night, take your sleeping pills and fall asleep. You're having a vivid dream. You see Jonathan in a garden with green grass and colorful flowers. He runs around with happiness and angels. There are white-dressed angels around him. Everyone is smiling. You're not a part of this dream. Jonathan doesn't see you, but you're still content with seeing him happy in this Eden. He was always a benevolent boy after all. He deserved to go to heaven. You wake up to the sound of the doorbell's ring. You take a look at the clock. 10 a.m. You wear your slippers and opens the door. It's Bob. Hello. I need to show you something. He holds the newspaper in his hand. There's anxiety on his face. You take the newspaper. It's Ohio's local newspaper. Another kid choked to death. Officers are investigating the curious case of repeated deaths of kids in the state. Yesterday night, a 6-year-old boy, Kevin Madsen, was found dead in his bed by his parents. His face was covered with his pillow. What makes this interesting for police officers is this is the 7th time a boy died this way in this month in Ohio. Recently, 8-year-old Jonathan White also died with a pillow on his face. Sheriff Wolcott states that he finds the recent events quite interesting. The end. That is quite interesting. I assume there's just like a serial murderer around or something, or it's just very unlucky and coincidence. Yeah, there we go. There's the 3rd and 4th one done. We also found the rest of the endings on the dull and after funeral. Hope you all enjoyed. If you do, please consider liking, commenting down below, and subscribing for more content from this channel as I post every single day. Look forward to the next episode as we do the last 2, maybe 3 stories, and I'll see you then. Josh out.